welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the wild landscape of Glen Prosen. And this is actually where I did a video a couple of weeks ago. I was up here looking for an abandoned chapel, but in today's video I've got more intel and I know pretty much the right direction to go now, folks. So yeah, we're back on an adventure, documenting more abandoned history here in Scotland, telling a tale of a wee Scottish glen here. And I start here at Glen Prosen village, and it's just beautiful landscape, little houses, little postcard scenes out here, folks. Anyway, I'll update you once I find the right track, but I think I need to go up here a bit. This is it here, folks. This is the wee path. I think if I stick to this path here, it takes me to the chapel, but I do believe it's hidden within some woodlands and stuff, so I'm just going to keep my eyes peeled. And sometimes along the way we find abandoned history we never knew existed. It's cool just to document everything. So I could hear a quad bike in the distance there, and I was just thinking, and if the boy comes up, he'll be thinking, what are you doing up here on my track? But to the landowners and like estate owners, I always come with the greatest respect. I'm simply just out here recording this history, then I'm on my way. And it's cool because it saves often forgotten history for generations to come. You can see what was on this land at a certain time. It tells a story of the old glens here, and it's just mad, like all those little communities and stuff that was around here for the early days. And probably like little chapels like what we're about to go and try and find here, they were probably some of the first religious settlements in the area. So I've now been walking for probably like about a mile on this track, and the scenery is just incredible. The way that the mist's rolling up into these trees here, it's almost like, it looks like from a distance it would be raining, but once you're actually walking about, it's totally dry. It's just kind of that misty, damp air, and it gives the land such a character. You get a real atmosphere of the glen. And I'm just keeping my eyes peeled for the history, but I'm just seeing all these old dike lines. This must have been a massive, vast forest here not so long ago. Check it out, folks. It looks like the path ends here, and I'm just keeping my voice down because I'm not sure of the lie of the land here. Oh, I can see a stone building here. This could potentially be the lost chapel of Glen Prosen that I searched for in a previous video. Yeah, wow, this is so cool. Check out this mad forest up here. It looks so desolate and wild. I don't know if you hear that animal, like the birds that make the noises up here, they're just crazy. That almost sounded like a grouse or something like that. Crazy sound. Like, here we go, folks, abandoned history. So this is what these adventures are all about. Wow, this is one of these places I would never have even known about it if I hadn't been told about it. But once you come here and see it, it's like so special. A piece of hidden history here in a wild forest almost. Wow, there's an old piece of gate. Wow, just check out this old gate here, folks. It's an amazing piece of probably what was this ancient estate. Look at the thin spikes which have been on it. They lead right down the gate. It's incredible to see. I always look at the old latches and stuff like that, and just think about the people over the years that opened that gate and walked through it when they were on their day-to-day life. It's just such a different time in history, and we just see relics and skeletons of that history often lying. Each little thing we see has got its own history and little story to tell. And this building is just incredible to see, with the plants just draped right over it. I don't even think that's ivy, that's some other type of climbing plant. And then check out this little window here. Wow, with the stone construction, it just looks so cool. It's built with these big stones and then the little stones, and it was probably stones which were all over the hull here. And look, some of them's got the high quartz content, like we see often on videos with the buildings and stones in the area, like where the buildings are. Okay, and that's natural in the ground here in Scotland. You get massive chunks like this. The reason it goes yellow like that is because of the iron in the stone as well. Yeah, check out this building, folks. I'm just thinking what way to go round. It's mad to see. Imagine this originally would have been a small hedge, but over the years it's just gotten out of control. It's growing and growing. Wow, what a special building with that moss and stuff over it. Often the greenery and the shrubbery is the thing that sets off a building like this. Sometimes with the moss on the ground and stuff, and the green leaves up on top of the building, that's what like makes it look so vivid. It contrasts the grey colour of the stone, and that's often what we say, like on the videos I often say character of the buildings and stuff, and like that's what it is. It's like years of decay, the imagination of the history here, the people that may have walked amongst these areas. Wow, folks, let's have a look. Yeah, I believe it's like for the family here of the local estate area, the farm estate kind of bit is buried within here. So I believe it's Balnaboth is the area. I love all that old like Celtic patterns on the old stones. 1885, 1825 on that one there. But these stones are within a building here which is even more ancient on the hill. An old religious like building which is an old chapel. It's incredible to think of that ancient history. Maybe this building stood here since like the first days of religion on the land here, Christianity. So if you imagine these gravestones in here, 1800s and stuff, again that's ancient in its own part. But it's such a nice, peaceful burial spot here to have for the estate. Just look at the way the stones is built here. You imagine this was likely to be constructed maybe, I don't even know what year, like to say it's ancient times, like 1400s potentially, or ancient times like that, 1500s maybe. Just to think how old that lintel stone is. But I believe some of these bits have crumbled out. That's how it's cool to record it. Share the history with the world, but also save the history. Oh, look at this here. What has this even been? Look at that, folks, right there. It's an interesting architectural detail in the building. Wow. Look, it almost goes up there. Like a cavity, almost like a chimney stack. I'm not sure if at one time it was a bit of a folly for the estate as well, and it maybe had a little balcony kind of bit up there. Look at the shape of these windows. Sometimes as well, estates built buildings like this to look more ancient than they were, and I've seen that in places like Panmure, and this could be a representation of that. Maybe this building was built literally in the early 1800s. Wow, look at that there. That little window. So cool. Yeah, because originally when I was saying ancient times, like 1400s and stuff, I was imagining it was like the local community's burial ground kind of thing. But maybe if it's for like the estate of Balnaboth, it could have been more of a folly kind of religious burial area. There's a few different things going on. Often you get that with Scottish estates, they have their own personal areas like this, which are still ancient and tell an incredible story of history. And I just love the stonework, the way nature takes over with these shrubs. It almost protects it from the worst of the weather. It's just mad, all those stones, small stones and big ones, all used to construct this incredible bit of architecture. One of my favourite things is the way that they put the stones above the window. It's almost like an arch, like a bridge, to get the strength. But the fact that they used to use such rough stones to do that, it's an incredible feat of the builders. Check this out here as well, folks. Look at these hinges right here. Wow, it's just beautiful. I was thinking when I was round looking at that gate, maybe potentially there was a gate on here originally, and that may be it, which was round there. Wow, look at the way it's built with these stones and stuff. I'm wondering if it looks like it's been repaired. See, maybe it is an ancient chapel and then the estate like adopted it as a folly. Look at this end with the detail where we looked up through that almost like chimney stack part there. You can see it's like very high there, like 3 stories high. And it's got that opening. But I think that's always been like a decorative feature. Wow, what a scene. When you see things like that, you just imagine the goings on here over the years. When I see it, it is just a lot like what I saw at Panmure when it was designed to look older than it was. And it looks like that's always been a decorative, like fake tower. Wow, it's all big, massive chunks of stone. You can just see the way they're all built in. It's just so impressive. It's obviously stood here for so many years. It's just so cool. And it's just, like, even though it looks quite roughly built, it just shows it's actually stronger than it looks. So I was just getting a couple of photographs and I noticed there's a really interesting detail with a piece of sandstone there. It must have been the last remains of the roof. It must have been incredible to see it with a roof. Look at the size of this massive foundation stone here at the corner as well. It's a huge chunk. Maybe this building was like, the stones would have been dragged and moved around with the horses and the early technologies. And they must have like found naturally quite flat and square stones. And just check it out for this angle, folks. It looks like such an impressive building. I'm so glad I found this. And yeah, it's been interesting to see, and we've been lucky with the weather. Even though it looked like it was going to rain, it's just kind of been that misty fog. And you just hear all those birds tweeting. Not another sound here apart from the river in the distance. And it's cool to share little remote spots like this with people all over the world on the videos. There was a long delay last week between some of my videos and I ended up uploading it the weekend. But that was because my internet was down, folks. I had episodes ready to go. As soon as the internet's back on, boom, episodes coming out again. It's just been cool. And today I'm going to go home and literally like upload a video which you've probably already seen on the channel. And this is just so cool to see this, and I just love keeping these adventures coming. Visiting places that I've never been and seeing these things that we've never seen. And I'm not even sure if this place has ever been documented on YouTube before. So it's so cool. Just look at the way the ivy is draped over at this end here. Yeah, it's just a wildlife wonderland now. Almost like, I've said it before in some of my explores, the places I go, it's like a secret garden with all these little historical wonders hidden in the middle of it. The story, the history can often tell just from looking around the wee nuggets you find. It's just so cool to see. And I just imagine it when all this little hedge and stuff was freshly planted. That was likely to have been in the 1800s, when Scottish estates were thriving. That's when they were in their prime. Nowadays, buildings like this, they're just like a reminder of the ancient times of Scotland. This one's been put to use now, and it's technically not abandoned because now it's a burial site and the grave site for the people who at one time managed this land. And yeah, it's a special place to see and document, folks. And when you get to walk through places like this on the way in, it makes it even more special. Anyway, now I need to get out this. It's probably like a mile and a half I came down this path here. But it's been fun, and it was definitely worth it for sure. When I first saw the stone building, I just thought, like, I wasn't even sure if that would be the little chapel, but for sure that's what it is. Over at the far side there, where those trees are on the misty hills, is roughly where I explored last week when I was at, like, the abandoned cabin in the woods, folks. Spooky abandoned cabin. That's roughly where that was over there. So it's cool just to keep documenting more places all over Scotland, just one glen at a time, one place. Yeah, look, some of the stones on this hill, you can see this is where they were likely to have collected the stones for the building. And you can see that's a natural rock, and it's got these lines through it with that quartz seam, and look, a massive chunk at the end. And that shows the volcanic history here on this land, wild and ancient. So it's interesting, sometimes when I'm looking at somewhere like that, I theorise and I say a lot of different dates or years that I think it may be from, but I'm literally just theorising as I look at the thing, judging it from what I can see. And it is interesting how estates have always had follies and small places like that. But originally, I believe there would have been no burials within the structure if it had been a real chapel originally. But down at the wee village of Glen Prosen, where I'm parked, there's actually another chapel. So maybe this was a more ancient one in the glen from back in the day, and then maybe once civilization moved further down the glen, maybe the new chapel was built down there. So it's interesting to think about that too, because I've seen that before at other glens as well, like Glen Esk. There's the old chapels right up at Invermark, which was gravestones for the early 1700s and stuff, and then down at the roadside there's actually a newer chapel, a newer little church. So all these Scottish glens is like that. So I just wore the trainers for this one, and I've been lucky. Last time when I came up this glen, I ended up climbing through the middle of bogs and climbing through forests. So it's been cool in this one just to pretty much follow this track all the way there. Sometimes the abandoned locations in Scotland have got no road to them, but often that's when you find the coolest things. It's like people often didn't walk those directions, so the things are never seen. Often it's just gamekeepers and foresters that see cool things when they're out working. But that's the sort of abandoned history I love to explore. It's just wild and forgotten. So the old iron gate that we saw there perched against the wall would have actually been the gate for the little compound where we saw the ancient hedge which had grown up higher than the roof of the building. That would have been the old gate, which was probably made at the same time that that hedge was planted. And often that's the thing, I realised the history that I was looking at. I'm just walking away from it literally, and I'm piecing together what I've seen. And sometimes even when I'm editing these videos, I'm like, I totally have like that light bulb moment when I realise what the bit of history was doing or what it was. And that's how often if I come back in the future, I update history of places and kind of find out the real history, things that I might have missed. Yeah, the landscape here is so cool, with these little dry stone dikes leading over. Some of them go right up over the wild hill, and it's crazy to think about the people and the time it must have taken to build those dikes. So check it out, folks. I literally went probably up this path here. You can see it. Into that area there where the forest is. Last time I was in this glen, I went miles away down this way. But that just goes to show you can actually find some history with a little bit of determination. With this one I had to get told exactly where it was because I didn't actually know. But it was so special to see. And I was theorising it might have been the old chapel up the glen there where we were, and then this could be the newer one built down here at the more modern village. And like every little village that we stop at on these adventures, it's got the wee notice board. Coffee morning and plant sale. Coal merchants, folks. Joinery services. Anybody in the area, give them a shout. Yeah, that shows you it's a lot of coal fires and stuff up in the glens and stick fires, and when I grew up that's what our houses were like inside. Sometimes the coal fire heats the water for the house, but I remember sometimes in the wild, like glen houses and stuff, like the curtains frozen at the bedroom window in the morning, like that's how cold it is in Scotland in the winter. Anyway folks, that's me back at my car. It was a cool adventure and we saw a bit of history that we've never seen before on the channel, and what more can we ask for? We got lucky with the weather because it never rained, and we got blessed with this beautiful Scottish scenery. Anyway, I'll be back with the next adventure soon folks. I'm ending it here. Thanks very much for watching and we'll see you soon.